Hi, Kerry.
Hi, Troy.
Thank you, Kerry, for being our very first Meet the Mainstreet Manager, one of Mainstreet Australia's initiatives where we talk to the different Mainstreet managers and centre coordinators throughout Victoria, get to know them a bit better, get to know their centre a bit better and how they operate. So you obviously manage the Camberwell Centre Association. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about Camberwell?
Sure. So Camberwell is Camberwell Junction. So Camberwell Junction incorporates the six-way intersection. It traditionally was on the border of what was the old city of Hawthorne and city of Camberwell, but now we're part of Boroondara. And it encompasses about 720 businesses under the Traders Association banner. Many of those, though, are offices and professional services.
Yeah.
There's probably closer to more about 500 what we would consider retail or custom-focused businesses.
Yeah. Have you seen that number grow over the years, or have you stayed roughly the same figure?
Yeah, well, we changed the parameters of the association to incorporate more of the professional services, but we've done it in a way that they obviously don't pay the premium price that street-level businesses pay. We're in zones, so we have sort of a core zone, periphery fee, and then an upper-level fee.
Yep.
And the professional services are predominantly on just a flat annual fee. But by including them, it brought some challenges because we had to provide appropriate events or opportunities for them to engage with the association.
Yeah.
But we did it a couple of years ago because we thought they were still benefiting. I mean, when we improved the precinct's reputation, their business address has more value and cachet, and they often employ people and staff that make use of our facilities. So we thought they were, it was appropriate to include them.
Yeah. Cool. So let's start off with the journey for you. How did you get to become a centre manager?
Well, I was working in advertising and then fell into shopping centre management, which I did for a number of years in various marketing and centre management roles. But it didn't really suit me. I wanted to stop and raise a family, and the hours were ridiculous. I kept getting dragged into meetings at 6:30 at night because somebody thought you should be involved. Yeah. And I thought, no, I'm out of here. So I found out about shopping strips and thought, that sounds interesting.
Yeah. And how did you, because I know my understanding of, say, like a hardtop shopping centre versus an open-air shopping centre, was it a hard one to grasp, the differences in terms of how they're built and how they're managed?
Sure, it is different. It was a great experience coming from that background because, retail, you get a lot more training and dealing with retailers and traders and understanding landlords and their perspective was really important. But the differences, first and foremost, is that marketing in strip shopping centres is like marketing with your hands tied behind your back. You have so little control over the ambient environment, what event space is available to you, the tenancy mix, which is crucial in shopping centres, working with you're having to deal with a lot of different groups, a lot of different stakeholders, everyone from the tenant to the landlord to the head office of chain stores to council staff to Traders Association. It's juggling a lot of different stakeholders. And so it's quite different. It has its challenges compared to shopping centre management, but the rewards are that flexibility and, being your own boss, which is what I was really looking forward to and what I enjoy most about the experience of strip shopping centres.
Yeah. And did you know that open-air shopping centres was a thing while you were a part of hardtop environments?
No. I mean, I didn't even do centre management in shopping centres was a thing. They often near the toilets and you sort of saw an office and that was about it.
Yeah.
So as a career path, no, not at all. But when I fell into this role, which I initially started just picking up little odd retail groups, and then I found Camberwell Junction. It fit all the skill set I already had, but with that added flexibility and autonomy that I was really looking forward to. So I just loved it. It was a good fit.
Yeah. And what would you tell others who are interested in getting involved or being part of Mainstreet's?
Mainstreet's, well, that really added value. When I first started, as much as I said it was fairly easy because it was similar and there were some challenges, it was the opportunity through Mainstreet, when I discovered Mainstreet all those years ago, was to get to talk to other centre managers and learn from them the differences and how they tackled those challenges that were unique to strip shopping centres. So I really embraced Main Street events. The Centre Managers Network, as it was in those days as well, went along, made a lot of friends, a lot of people that are still in the industry as I am here 20 odd years later. And it was really crucial, and I try to give that back when I meet new managers. I really take the time to sort of say, how are you going, how are you coping, what are your challenges?
Like I know even for me when I first started in centre management, which compared to most people wasn't that long ago, like very short time ago, when I was first immersed in all the like, help! I was raising a white flag. I don't know what do I do? Who do I talk to? And all the centres are so different, and the way they're operated is so different, and the way the roles within those centres operate is so different.
Yes.
It's really hard to compare apples with apples. Like unless you've got, I suppose, a couple of centre managers within the one council area, but there might be a lot more similarity in that respect.
Yes.
But if you're someone like me who there's only one other one, and that council might operate in one way, and then the council next door that might have a centre manager or a business association within it operates a different way. It's really hard to, I suppose, have a good guiding line of, okay, well, what's best practice? What's everyone doing? Because everyone's kind of got their own take on it. And that takes been years worth of finding out their own rhythm and running with it.
And you're absolutely right, they are so different.
Let's discuss some of the challenges maybe that you find within centre management more broadly. The first question we've got for you is, what's been the most challenging project you've had to deal with?
Well, I think that the one that's a tricky one for us as Camberwell Junction is we're very large and we're very spread out. And when I first came on board, they used to do a festival event, they did one major festival event that was spectacular, but it blew their budget. And so we had a look at trying to do it, but we basically decided fairly quickly that we really didn't have the funds or the energy to do one huge major festival event, and that our money was better spent in other ways. We tend to do sort of a broader digital and traditional advertising campaigns with smaller events that are very niched around retail themes, and that works for us. I know big events can work spectacularly for other centres, and sometimes that's the one thing they do, but for us it just didn't work. So that's been a challenge, because that's the one thing the traders continually say, why can't we do a big festival event? So it's sometimes recognising what works for you and what doesn't work for you, whether it's budgetary, whether it's your resources, staffing support, or volunteer support or whatever, and being realistic about what you can achieve.
So for you, for Camberwell Centre, what do you see as your biggest challenge coming up? Do you have one on the horizon?
Yeah, our biggest challenge really is that Camberwell Junction's actually been nominated as an activity centre by the Victorian Government. So they propose to find room for 60,000 homes over the next 10 years, which is going to be quite a challenge. Obviously, there's an opportunity to have them around the shopping precinct, and certainly there's opportunities for businesses to take advantage of that extra traffic flow. But it will also bring challenges. So the Burundara Council happened to be working on our current structure plan, and we've worked very closely with them in the hope that the Vic government will be able to adopt that as is, and we will attempt to get the best possible outcomes. So we're not naive. We do need to increase our residential footprint, and it would be some advantages for the centre to have those extra customers, but you just want to still have green space, event space, easy access, parking, all the usual trigger points when you grow. Really our challenge is getting the best possible outcome of what is going to probably happen.
I suppose it can be hard to a project like that that's not necessarily in the hands of the centre management. It's a bigger party, it's a bigger picture project, and so you can contribute as you can to those projects and hope for the best. But you're kind of, I suppose, guided by what the bigger picture says, or what the bigger picture details later on down the track. Yeah,
for sure. You really can't, you can't do any of this work in isolation, because, as I said before, there's so many stakeholders.
Exactly.
So, you've got to be realistic about when you're planning your events, when you're planning your projects. Things are going to come at you that are out of your control, and you really don't actually have a lot of control over many of those things anyway. So you're always kind of adjusting your program to to fit the changes and adapt. And you know, that's probably one of the things that I've learned the most over being in this job for such a long time, is you have to be very adaptable, very flexible. You just have to kind of roll with it sometimes.
Yeah, and do you have a challenge that's an ongoing one that you've never really found a solution to, but it's just one that always presents itself?
Oh, look, I suppose that's probably comes down to communication.
Yeah.
You know, communication with the traders, communicating with anybody really, because one of the problems is certainly common for us all, is trying to keep up to date any kind of CRV or database. You know, the traders themselves change and move so dramatically. Professional services are up sometimes on the 12th floor. You have no idea that they're there.
Yeah.
They don't know about you. Real estate agents don't share that. Landlords don't share that there's such thing as a traders association.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of emails, but the emails sometimes, you know, 1 week is Dodo Bird, 1 week's Gmail, and something they don't tell you when they change.
Yeah.
So keeping a database up to date is really difficult. And then walking the streets, yes, but again, we're a big centre, so keeping track of that. We still send a printed newsletter 4 times a year, because we find that it's really just hitting them in various ways. So we have a digital newsletter that goes out monthly. We have a printed newsletter that goes out 4 times a year. It's hand delivered, so I know that somebody in the business got it. They'll deny that they got it, but they did get it at some point. And just trying to keep that flow of information. The most powerful thing is face to face and word to mouth. You know, if you can pound the pavement and talk to everybody, that's great. But big centres, that's not.
It's a big ask. Yeah. And I think also there's so much. It's important to have those one-on-one, in-person conversations, because so much incidental feedback can come up because of that.
Yes.
Like I know for us, when we walk the streets delivering newsletters, we do printed newsletters as well as email. A lot of conversations or a lot of feedback comes up just by way of a conversation.
Yes.
We weren't intending to have that conversation, but we've had that conversation. But it's been great to present the business with a really casual environment to have a conversation.
Yes.
Or to unearth something.
And usually, of course, they want to talk to you about things that are, again, not under your control. Yeah. So, the cleanliness, the
bins or something.
Exactly.
Graffiti.
But, again, your role is that middleman. You can,
a conduit.
You can at least take that on board. You can share that information to the appropriate channels, and you can feed it back again. So they feel like they've been heard. And where possible, you can explain to them that, there are other forces beyond your control as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they just sit and stew on it. So, that's really important, keeping that communication channel open.
No, absolutely. I think it's fair to say that the role of a centre manager can be quite a pressure role. Yeah. There's a lot happening generally all at the same time, and there's lots of different projects. It might be you're reporting for council, or you're trying to run an event, or you're trying to pull together collateral or a newsletter, and there's all these projects happening all at the same time, and they've all got similar deadlines. How do you yourself manage the pressure of the role? Yeah,
look, your promotional calendar is your best friend. Setting it at the beginning of each year or whenever. I usually prefer to run my promotional calendars in a calendar year. It's just easier.
Yeah.
So work into those themes that you're going to need to incorporate, like traditionals, Mother's Days, Father's Days, all those sort of things. Implementing a couple of key strategic things that you've decided upon for the year. But in terms of day-to-day, a to-do list is your best friend.
Yeah.
Every day, each evening, I write a list of the things I really need to achieve the next day.
Yeah.
I come in, and as I can get through them, I cross them off.
Yeah.
And it's really satisfying.
Yes.
If I can't cross them off, they stay on the list or transfer to another list for the next day.
Yeah.
And they just stay on that sometimes for weeks if they have to.
Yeah.
But again, it's that flexibility that you need to be. You have to sometimes just roll with it. You just have to sort of understand that there's a lot of balls in the air at any given time. You may drop one or two, but your role is to try and keep them flowing, and as best you can. So there's a challenge, but just keeping calm about it and kind of going, look, step by step, I'll go through it and meet each of the problems as they arise. Because I always say with events that there's going to be something going wrong. I mean, it's inevitable. Any event you ever run, and even events that you've run year on, something will go wrong each year, and may be quite different from year to year. Hopefully it is, because you've learnt, as it happens. But you just got to keep calm and go, okay, what can we do? Let's deal with it. And that's experience that comes after many years of doing these events. But it's something you have to remind yourself.
Yeah. Like I know for me, I've So I've been trying to be much more digital aligned
Yes.
and adopt much more of a digital angle. So like I've got a digital to-do list,
Yes.
but there is nothing as satisfying as having an A4 bound book where you can just go. And I've got one of those as well as my digital adoption strategy, which isn't working out too well.
Yeah.
But I've got my to-do list is pages long, because it's an ongoing list, and there's stuff on there from like 6 months ago that hasn't been crossed off, and I'll flip back through. It's like, oh, I forgot about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, oh well, obviously, what's that say?
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Wasn't that
we'll move
important?
along.
Yeah, and that's okay too, because sometimes, again, you sometimes you're trying new things, or you're very ambitious about your calendar of events, and you're ambitious because you want to achieve lots of things. But at the end of the day, you have limited resources, time, money, and people power.
Yeah.
And we are all trying to deal with those things. So some things have to be, struck off the list early.
Yeah.
Others you give a bit of a go for a couple of years and then go, it's had its time to move on. So, it is keeping flexible is important.
Let's talk about some of the perks. The fun part.
Yeah.
Well, it's all fun, but it's all fun. What's been your greatest achievement so far?
I think I probably have to just say longevity. It's been, for me, over 25 years. And I know that's not for everybody. I know not everybody wants to stay in one job for 25 years, but it's been a fascinating job because there's been so many changes in that time. The centre itself, of course, changes monthly. We have tenants come, we have tenants go. There's been staff changes in council, and the way council runs has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
There's been things like over the many years I've had to deal with, GST came in. What a nightmare that was for retail and traders generally.
Yeah.
The GFC, now the financial crisis, COVID obviously. But it's so when I say longevity, I'm really meaning, that sense of keeping adaptable, learning, growing, improving your professionalism.
So what do you think is the single best thing about what you do?
Oh, look, helping traders. When you get a win, when you've worked with perhaps a mum and dad operated business or a new business that's just opened on the street, and you're able to give them some experience and expertise on your knowledge of the area, your knowledge of this industry generally, and genuinely help them, it's so rewarding. And you're helping the community. I mean, the development of your centre over the years has also been the development of the suburb and the region that you're in, and you've seen so many changes and improvements, and being part of that has been really exciting. That's been very much what I get out of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know for me, I think last year was a big year.
Yeah,
I think probably it's safe to say the last couple of years have been big years.
Yeah.
But like towards the end of last year, leading up to the festive season and all that sort of stuff, when you get to the point of the year, like I just need a break.
Yeah.
But we were doing some food tours and stuff, and I was standing there helping out the woman running the food tour, and I was behind the scenes listening to this business talk about who they are and how they came to be and the passion behind it.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it just filled my cup.
Yes.
I obviously love and live and breathe what I do. I think anyone who's a centre manager or a centre coordinator or who works in open shopping centres, it's not a job you do because it's there. It's a job you do because you love what you do. It's almost like events in some respects. It's a real niche area. Is there a particular main street that you idolise?
Sometimes it's the small ones because they are small and they're cute, and there's lots of little unique businesses and charming. Or there might be little country towns because of their charm, or there might be big country towns where it's the excitement of a town centre, where kind of like a little mini CBD.
Yeah.
So they're appealing and interesting because of that. I guess one that stands out for me is actually James Street in Brisbane. So not a Melbourne one, but the reason I picked that is that I was really impressed with, it's Queensland, so the weather's lovely. It lends itself to outdoor street shopping generally.
Yeah.
And it has this gorgeous canopy of green that lush tropical rainforesty kind of greenery that grows so well up there, but they've embraced it. So the placemaking that's been done on the street is really important. The tenancy mix is excellent. It's a great blend of corporates but more sort of niche retailers and some quirky, interesting one-off boutiques.
Yeah.
A really nice mix. I don't know how much was planned and how much has just happened, but it's just got a great feel. I really admire.
So we've talked about your journey, the challenges, the perks, problem solving mixed in throughout all of those responses. Let's get to the day in the life of you as a centre manager. And we've talked about how you set up your day and how you like to do this the night before for what you'd like to achieve the next day. What are you doing at the end of a long day to switch off and decompress?
Yeah, look, again, I think after this many years, it's easier for me for lots of reasons. One is I'm very lucky that I have an on-site office, which I know is not common, but it does enable me to literally shut the door, which is much harder for those managers who are working from home, where it all just rolls into one. I'm not saying I don't still check my emails of an evening. I work all hours and weekends, but that's because it suits me.
Yes.
Whereas by having an office where I can store things and kind of mentally keep work at work is very helpful.
Yeah.
Also, being a bit older, I no longer have children at home, which is more challenging. A lot of the people doing this job are also balancing families, and one of the perks of the jobs is often it is part-time, and that works for mums in particular. And it was one of the reasons I took the job initially in the early days. My son used to often come and join me at work during the holidays, and he knew Santa was just Santa's helpers because he got to meet them all every year. So it was a great job during that time. But the plus about not having that is I can really switch off. I get home and I just zone out.
Yeah, it's a good way to be. And if you need a laugh, what are you doing? Are you watching something, reading something, listening to something?
My most recent book's coming straight out of a few days holiday over Christmas and New Year, was the Richard Osman Thursday Murder Club book club books. You probably haven't read them, but there's a series of 4, really funny. He nails his characters. It's sort of set in an old people's home, but it's these great old guys that sort of a team of old people that solve murder mysteries. And it's fun, it's light. 1 minute you laugh, 1 minute you cry, so I love a good book. Movies-wise, I usually go a little bit dark on my streaming. I've just finished the Fargo series, latest current series, and love that. I like, cross-section of different books. Took myself off to the movies the other day and saw Wonka. Loved it. Timothy Chalamet.
I've yet to see it.
Often take myself to the movie. I have to confess, Rivoli Cinemas here in Camberwell, sometimes I literally take an hour and a half out of the day. I time it so that I know when the movie's about to start, take a cup of coffee and lunch. There's something about the blackness of the screen and totally focusing your mind that's a great switch off. And I allow myself to do that sometimes. Sometimes you just need to get away from people. I can make up the time another time, and it's really good to just get out of your head. So going off and seeing the movies is fantastic. And then recently I just pulled out some old records. I found an old record collection and just found a couple of my favourite Patti Smith albums and played back-to-back and danced around like I was 20. I mean, you got to do that every now and again. I loved it. It was really fun. Just reminded me when I was my fearless young self.
And last question on the list. We've talked about a lot. What's in the coffee cup?
Look, I'm sort of, I feel like I might be sliding just on the cusp of the doddery old boomer time, and I go for a extra hot latte. Normally only one a day though, so it has to be good. I have a couple of cups of tea, but I'm a extra hot regular latte. Regular milk, no point buying doing skinny. It's not working anyway. That's me. Yeah,
interesting. Well, I drink soy. So. But I'm not lactose intolerant. Just it happened, and I haven't stopped. I generally drink like 5 coffees a day, but it literally coffee does absolutely nothing for me. And my mother's the same. She can have a coffee sitting in bed, be out like in half an hour, and I'd be the same. I wish it did something, because there's some mornings be like, good Lord, just give me something.
I know, and look, coffee meetings are a thing. So sometimes if I'm having, because I try to schedule my time, we talked before earlier about scheduling things, and I try and make meetings only 2 days a week. So if I can push people into those 2 days,
Yeah.
they're my meeting days, and then other days I can do the other stuff. Because otherwise, you're dragging your mind out of things. You're trying to be creative on the day, talk to people next. So meeting days, sometimes it's back-to-back coffees,
Yeah.
and I'm flying. But
Yeah.
and I don't need much to be a chatterbox. But it'd be nice if at the end of the day we could have a wine meeting as well.
I'm all for a wine meeting. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your no doubt very busy schedule to sit down with me and chat about all things Main Streets and centre managers. We're doing a whole series of these videos and interviews in different formats to give people an understanding of how everyone operates within the scene, because we meet up throughout the year with Main Street events and Main Street initiatives, but these kind of, I suppose, informal and delivered in other medium ways of communicating is a great way for us to all keep abreast and keep understanding of how everyone's operating and how everyone's doing, because it's a challenging environment.
And it's very encouraging meeting with other managers and kind of just getting a sense of where are you at compared to what everyone else is doing, and understanding that it can be challenging and you're often working on your own. So being part of the bigger industry is really important and really powerful. And coming along, meeting other managers and getting to see how other people do things is very much part of learning how the business can be improved.
Well, thank you, Kerry.
Thank you, Troy, and hello to all the other managers. Good job.